And today's topic comes in light of the tragic death of a 17-year-old rugby player. Rowan Stringer was taken off life support over the weekend after a hit on the field last Wednesday that left her unconscious. Today, we're going to look into the issue of head trauma in sport. And so joining us on our panel today, fittingly, is Dr. Blaine Hoshizaki, Director of the Neurotrauma Impact Science Lab at the University of Ottawa. We had you on earlier this morning. Thanks for sticking around to join us on this topic today. Cody Jeffries from Bob FM and Steve Lloyd from the Team 1200. Folks, thanks for joining us today. And I want to start with you, Dr. Hoshizaki. We talked earlier, and it's been a news story this morning, that your daughter happens to play rugby. She's 16 years old. She plays at Elmwood Private School, and the school has decided to cancel the girls' rugby final games of the season in light of this death. Is that the right thing to do?
Yes, I was a little disappointed in that they decided to cancel the season, because I really think that's overreacting, because as I mentioned, these sorts of catastrophic deaths are very unusual and very rare, thankfully. I mean, they're very tragic. However, they're very rare, and to cancel the season is, in my opinion, sending the wrong message to the athletes and to the general public.
So what do we do as parents then? What do we do for our children to keep them safe on the field? What do we need? What's our tools, or what do we say, or how do we keep them safe?
Yeah. I think the responsibility goes beyond just parents, because of course the parents are making the right decisions, keeping their children involved in sports in a healthy way. The responsibility lies with the school boards, the athletic organizations, and parents, and of course the athletes. And the key element is to educate the children, or the athletes rather, and the organizations around the athlete as to the seriousness of brain injuries, or any sort of event that can create a brain injury.
Cody, some people are saying that why not take contact sports away from kids that are developing, that are at that younger age, and that would cover quite a few sports. We're talking football, rugby, hockey. Do you agree with that?
I'm torn, because I think sports is a good thing for kids. It makes them interact with other children, gets them, out there and doing stuff. But when I was in high school, I also had the same thing, where I was playing volleyball indoors and someone pushed me against a cement wall. I blacked out for a few seconds, started getting headaches. My dad took me out of sports completely. So.
And what's your reaction to that, the fact that you never played again?
I missed it. I started going after my father passed away. I started doing, more interactive sports, but at the time I couldn't, because he was like, no, banned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a concussion, Steve?
I'm sure I have. Yeah, I had one at a car accident that was diagnosed years ago, but I played contact sports my whole life, and hockey. I'm sure when I was younger. I think it's great what's happened in recent years. We talk about it on the show quite a bit, with the massive lawsuits from the NFL from former players.
Yes.
Derek Buchart's family has now filed suit against the NHL and Gary Bettman. There's more awareness these days, the last number of years. I think that's a good thing. And to the doctor's point, I think that's what you have to have more education about this. The thing that struck me in the interviews I saw, unfortunately, with the parents talking about this, was she had 2 bumps in the head recently and had headaches. And unfortunately, and the doctor can speak to this, what we do know about this, it can be cumulative if you have consecutive close together.
Right.
And it's just, your heart breaks when you see this story. And
sorry to cut you off there, Dr. Hoshizaki. Can you follow up on that then? As Steve was saying, that we've learned that she had hits earlier at a game previous to Wednesday's game. And when someone suffers a hit and it's a concussion, they should be pulled out of that game. They shouldn't be playing again. And how do we know what the symptoms of a concussion are? It's not necessarily someone blacked out or passed out on the ground.
And I think in fairness to everybody involved, certainly in this case, is that it's not that well understood.
Right.
But it is pretty clear that once an individual's had an event, and we call them events because the challenge we have now is people define concussions in a variety of different ways, for good reason.
Right.
But it's hard for young people, or for athletes, or parents as well, who are not directly involved in this science or medical part of practice, to really understand the importance. And we really do not know. A small event can lead to a major event. And what we're talking about is what's referred to as a second impact syndrome. And that's when a person has had an event, concussive or hit to the head, and continues to play, or continues to return to play, and has a second event. And in some cases that can result in a catastrophic outcome and death. So it's very important that athletes, parents, and coaches know that if they had an event, the athlete has to be removed play.
And that's a tough thing to do, though, especially we're talking about our young athletes, right? And they say, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine. And they want to get back out on the ice or back out on the field, right, Cody? I mean, they just want to be there like you. You want to play your sport when you're a young person.
I did. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to be with my friends and do everything, but I always had to sit on the sidelines, and because I had that note, my dad said no more.
But it then becomes an education for both parents, coaches, and athletes as well. They have to recognize then the signs.
That's the most important, I think, the education for the athletes. You have to be honest with yourselves, because we've seen it before at the professional level. I've seen hockey players, Ian LaPerriere, Philadelphia Flyers, a couple of years ago, he admitted the next year he shouldn't have come back and played the Stanley Cup final. He kind of lied his way through the test and lied to the doctors and lied to the team, said he was okay because he wanted to play so badly in a Stanley Cup final, and he regrets that. That was a mistake.
Importance of recognizing what a concussion is, and that can be very, very serious, I think is one of the major messages here today. I want to thank very much Dr. Hoshizaki for being with us today. Cody, Steve, thanks very much for joining us as per usual on Top Talkers today.